Sorry.
Computer. All right, we are recording and welcome to High Vibe TV. This is episode number 8, and today I'm having a discussion with Mary Beaver, who is a U.S. Army Human Intelligence military analyst with 8 years of service. And looks like you're renowned for your linguistic expertise and cryptological skills. Ooh, fascinating. Um, and this is the bio from her website, by the way. It says she's gifted with real-time memory. She can access vast knowledge instantaneously in high-pressure situations. But I guess what when I talked to you, when we talked in the past year, it seems like the things that stand out the most are you are a multi-generational Illuminati family survivor,
Yes.
and you were groomed to be in one of the secret space programs at, I don't know, certain age.
Between 4 and 7 is when they take people.
And I'm just wondering how many, as far as you know, how many secret space programs are there?
There's a lot. There's programs within the programs within the programs. The oldest program that I know about is Dr. Frankenstein's labs. Just for my eye just started watering as we were talking. So if I'm doing this, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries. Uh,
Um, and I know a lot of people are more apt on the Montauk because that's the one that's discussed more. I have a few books that reveal the MK Ultra programming, also the planet. I did some workbooks on the planets. Again, so sorry about my eye. That this is the first time, so that my eye's done this with somebody, so I apologize. I must be getting like spiritually attacked by somebody, something, some kind of entity.
oh, really?
Yeah, I've never had my eye just water like this. This is crazy. So again,
Really?
very
It's just
sorry,
one?
everybody.
It's like it's
Just
like half
watering.
it's like half crying or something?
Yeah, it's just this eye. It kind of hurts. It's really weird. Which is the left side, which I do believe is the feminine side.
Oh, that is weird. And it just started happening as
It as we were talking before you started, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on with my eye? So I'm super sorry if I have to keep patting my eye.
does does that happen to you often, like when you start talking about this stuff?
I get attacked in different ways, yes. But n I've never had to experience like my eye doing this. It's getting puffy too. That's interesting.
Um,
So
well, do you think you're getting attacked spiritually or by uh human technology that
could be a combination of both,
that
because really what technology comes down to is the ability to be able to manipulate mineral assets, and most weapons are made from mineral, whether they're molded by, some type of binding agent. They're still mineral.
that's true. So the spiritual aspect of it is the intent that is focusing through physical matter,
Yeah.
which we call technology.
Yes.
So yeah, you're right. If you're being attacked, it's always a spiritual attack. It's just a
Hmm.
matter of, is it psychic or is it uh
Who's doing it to you, kind of thing.
and when you're getting attacked, it really doesn't matter. You're just like, make it stop.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's like an irritant. They do it because it's an irritant, and they don't want you to talk, so they try to refocus your focus on something
Considering
else.
you're getting it from just one side though,
Right. That's
maybe
what
you're
I'm saying.
being
It's like,
beamed with the tower. Like we're obviously all targeted, like they have micro nano bots or whatever in us, and we're all like supposedly connected to the Internet of Things, and they can access us. And you're probably a targeted person just because of who you are,
very
because you
targeting.
have information that obviously most of us are pretty clueless about and wouldn't have any idea about except for the whistleblowers who have already come out. Um,
Yeah. Well, no, they don't even have the information I have. The thing is everybody has a level of information. I have information not even the Illuminati has. Like, you have these beings that are like the keys to remaking the Matrix, redoing the Matrix. I mean, how do they reset the Matrix when the Earth is done entertaining itself? Because again, we there's all these planets, there's these galaxies and worlds all over the universe. But the thing is we're being hosted. So who is the host? The host is the planet. So what does the planet want? So it provides the necessity of reality, a physical and a spiritual reality, and then it creates these vessels, whether it's an animal vessel, a plant vessel, or a human vessel like this, or some kind of, some type of vessel. There's different levels of souls. The very first soul is usually the lowest form because each soul has to go, or spirit, whichever you want to say it, has to go through a journey. And the journey is long. But because we get in these suits where we have consciousness thinking, we don't remember that long trillion, billions of years of being all these different things in different worlds. Everybody can start off as a blade of grass. And then what happens to the grass? Well, it lives and it dies. We could be a fly, we could be a bug. Everybody's been an insectoid, we've all been something. But to be in a body, a physical appearance like this with a God key in it, that's rare. So we're all here to learn how to capture this vessel to become what everybody wants to be as a god. But they don't, those people who do it and cheat, they don't want to be the ones that work hard, I guess you could say. They just want the results, not the adventure.
It's like the a spiritual Ozempic.
Right.
They just want to take a
Exactly.
pill to be gods instead of go through the hardcore, rigorous nature of actually becoming something great.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, power comes, it does come with a great responsibility.
And they
And
don't want the responsibility either.
right,
They just want to use it
definitely.
for their infantile uh harebrained schemes.
Yes. So yeah, even being in the Illuminati family, the best time to get information of your journey is usually between the age of 0 and 4, because even with sign language, that's why a lot of parents tell you to sign with your children so that they understand like, oh, food or here or thank you, stuff like that. Those are basic tellings. So it also helps a child to be able to use both sides of its brain. Um, but they'll tell you who they are, what they've done, and past lives sometimes before they hit 4. Then after the first 4, they wipe your brain. And then between 4 and 7, that's when the imagination comes out, and they have these stories of flying planes or aircrafts, or they were in space and stuff like that. Those are real. Those aren't stories. Those are actual events that they did, but we've been groomed to believe that they were never taken. They're just a child's imagination. But it's not. That's why we go to daycare or we have babysitters. Those guys are the handlers to collect the information to find out who it was that got reincarnated.
Wow, really?
Yes,
So how common is that?
very common. Have you ever sat and talked to a child between the age of 4 and 7?
Well, sure. I used to be one.
Right? You're
And
like, whoa.
I remember having vivid imagination, but I never had daycare or anything. I lived in the country and uh I don't know. We didn't do stuff like that back then. So I don't know how can you tell though if it's I mean, children do have imaginations, right? I mean,
Or are they memory?
that's it. That's a good point.
Because where did they get the imagination?
I don't know. Where does anybody get in? That's mystery stuff. Um, but as far as your personal experience, you have these same memories and they're more vivid, more details, and is
Yeah.
that because I never had memories of that kind of stuff, so I don't I
Well, I
probably
knew since I started talking, I was like, oh, I'm here to fight God's war. Whatever that looked like, whichever God it was at the time, I just knew I was here to fight God's war. And at first it was cute, right? Oh, how cute. The churches were like, oh, that's adorable. And then when it was like more like I was talking about it and I would talk about the real God, not the false God, and I started to get beat for it. He was no longer cute because it wasn't the god that they worshipped. So Lucifer, this is Lucifer's kingdom. We're dancing around in, having a good time.
Yeah.
But and he was granted the kingdom, but his contract's up. It's kind of like the whole book of Noah. Let me test him, test the loyalty, and I do believe that Lucifer led with that at some point, like, oh, let me test all their loyalty, and
Yeah,
so,
I came to that conclusion long ago too. And then I discovered Gnosticism, and it kind of covers those grounds, like we live in this fake, you know, corrupted
well,
world that's
it's not fake. It just depends on who's running it. It's very real. Now, it might be an illusion, but you're gonna physically touch something because the physicality is still here. It's just what are you touching, right? Is it really a wall? Is it really a car?
yeah. Well, I know. Yeah, maybe that was the wrong way to put it. It's more like it's a matrix, like an illusion. Like it's not what we think it is, what we perceive it as, or at least what the average person perceives it as.
Right. It's just that you're still touching something, though. You are physically here. Don't the Luciferians want you to believe that even your body is a hologram, because it's easier for you to try to kill yourself than them trying to come after you. It costs more money.
So you don't subscribe to the theory that we live in a holographic universe?
No, you live in a holographic consciousness, but you have a physical body.
Okay.
I mean, what is the point of having anything of the physical than the spiritual if you can't control something? Controlling consciousness, it's called echo. Echo is actually the consciousness that is overriding our God consciousness. I have a book about it. The God consciousness actually came from Pluto. That's why they say it's not a planet or a star. It's a like a beacon satellite for the God consciousness of our universe. So about a trillion years ago, it was taken over by a consciousness called Echo. And that's why you'll see Echo everywhere, because we're echoing and mirroring at the same time the truth and uh, the false consciousness. But we're just trapped in a consciousness, in our own consciousness, but we're physically still moving. Kind of like, you remember back in the day in the 80s where you had your ant farm and they did all the tunnels and stuff?
Yeah, like you bought these glass
Yeah.
cages, kind of like a wall or something.
hmm
I
That's kind of what you're in.
never had one, but I do remember those.
Right. So the ant is physically in there, but it thinks it's just restricted by a wall. Like that's just the scope of their existence. Ours is the same way. Did you know if you pull over on a highway and you walk off the highway, you actually glitch the matrix?
Ah, so that's kind of what David Icke refers to as the postage stamp view of reality. We're in this little tiny square, and there's all this outside of it that
Mhm.
most of us are too scared to venture into.
Right, because you might see the real reality. Because again, it'll glitch and you'll be like, whoa, what's out here? Well, then the matrix has to come in and then add on to what you're seeing. So it goes back to, oh, it's just a field of cattle.
Sounds to me like your whole life experience has been outside that postage stamp square.
Yes.
And all you've been doing is encompassing the whatever that's
Well,
out
I've
there.
been told I test patience a lot, so maybe patience is what the matrix calls itself.
So growing up in a Illuminati family, how old were you when you discovered that what you were experiencing wasn't the normal family experience? And then how how did you decide to break free from all that? And how old were you when you did break free from it?
Well, I've been fighting it my whole life. Um, there was actually, I was talking to somebody about it. There was a time, because my mom was a single mom and she had to work all the time. So we were raised by my grandparents, who unfortunately were our handlers. Um, my grandpa protected me because of a shaman. told him he needed to protect me. But none of the other kids in our family were protected. So my grandmother was my greatest enemy, but she was also my grooming handler. And she was a high level Eastern Star priestess. Um, she had a lot of control in the world. She knew kings and stuff like that. Um, and I guess around 17 is where I wanted to break free from it because I learned white magic. Like I know how to push and pull. I can give life to small animals if they die, and I can do these things naturally with the earth. But again, everybody is born with it. It's just you have to have somebody help you use it because if you don't know how to use your abilities, you can use it out of control. So, but I was being groomed to use mine leading into the darkness. So when I was 17, I was supposed to be baptized, right? And it was on a Wednesday at a church across the street from a Mason building. Um, and there was a lot of people there, like in suits, and they were humming these things, and it was really odd. And I wasn't in a white dress kind of thing, just a plain gown. And we're walking down this aisle, and her grip on my arm got really tight. But then it felt like these invisible swords spearing into me. There was so much pain. So I was like, "Oh my God, what is this? This is not a baptism." Well, then I could see I call them casted shadows. These are the demons that people let in. They're like stowaways sometimes, or shadow demons. Demons are actually not a type of human. They're like the archons and stuff. They're not devils with tails and horns. They're just humans without magic. Um, and they're actually who's ruling over us right now. This was the whole Atlantean thing. Uh, but I didn't quite make it to being baptized. I kicked my grandma really hard and I ran. It was like, I love life. So I realized what was happening. I wasn't being baptized. I was being married to Lucifer because Lucifer wanted to control the heirs of the world. And they're all females. So it was fascinating, weird, and difficult at the same time. And my grandma ended up making me walk home before my mom got home. And again on a Wednesday, the while everybody's at work, nobody realizes. And then when I got home, I was just chopped up as being this unruly child with bad behavior. My grandma knew how to tell my mom stories, and I was just the POS that wouldn't listen. So there was a lot of points where I did try to tell my mom, but my grandma's words were more clever than mine. So I stopped talking when I was younger for a whole year, and I learned how to survive that family. Because I mean, the only times I wasn't like beaten or brutally attacked was on holidays, but I was poisoned because they wanted me to sleep because I was too hyper. So it's a survival game, like for sure. If you survive, then they consider you chosen for something. They just need to figure out what it is you're chosen for.
Is that how they operate? Is like they torture and push children to the brink of death, and then if they survive, they're uh, sounds like a
Yeah.
twisted logical way of proving something. But I've always heard that they electrocute as fetuses and torture children before they're even born. Is that something that happens
Yes.
regularly? Did it happen to you, as far as you
Um,
know, or
no, I was part of the Hitler's journal pretty much. So Hitler discovered how to make super soldiers. And it's an old method. It goes all the way back to, it's further back. Well, again, 18 million years, but it's just whoever finds it and uses it. So when I was a recruiter in the military, we were told to target the kids that wanted to get away from their family, that came from abusive backgrounds, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't because they had something to lose, right? Oh, they're indisposable or whatever. No, because they had to survive. So therefore, they have a better chance of surviving a war than anybody else that who had a good life. They're not the good life pit kids. They're not. They're not going to be strong, right? They might be smart, but they're not going to be physically adaptable. So those are the ones that are going to freeze when, shit hits the fan. Excuse me. Um, that method is when a woman is pregnant with a child, look at it like when a wolf if she's pregnant with her cubs. But she still has to go out there and fight other predators for food in order to eat, right? They're not going to a store to get food in order to make those cubs, grow. So there's a chemical that's released because these cubs have to be born in the environment that they have to live in and they have to survive it. So a pregnant wolf will be attacked. Now, a pregnant human will be attacked as well. My mom was abused while she was pregnant with me. So that was me being attacked. So that chemical in her was released and my body turned into a weapon because I had to survive the environment I was coming into. So
Wow.
that's a Hitler journal thing. He was part of all the MK Ultra.
Is
I
this
think over.
is this all the stuff that goes back to the Thule Society and all that kind of stuff and Madame Blavatsky and is that just something totally different?
They're used in different ways.
Okay.
So every different society uses them differently. Um, I think the worst project was the Sex Kitten project because you had the sex toys who were also the super soldiers. And then when they started to wake up, they went after their handlers. Now your handlers aren't even in the United States.
So usually when people think of super soldiers, they think of like Captain America, the Marvel Comics
Correct.
character. Um, it sounds like it's much more nuanced than that. People develop differently, right? So you'll have a different superpower, so to speak. Like,
But he had a gene that worked. So why did that gene work as opposed to others that failed, right? So why did this skinny kid in the beginning, they always tell you in the very beginning, like Jupiter Ascending, the very first 5 minutes tells you about how they harvest planets, right?
that's a great flick.
So, yes. So, how do you create a super soldier out of some skinny little kid? And we juiced him up with, the Hulk serum or something. But this guy didn't turn green because he had an abusive gene. That's what the bloodlining is. You have to find the exact chromosome that could enhance any kind of experiment. And that's what Enlil and Inky were doing was they were looking for certain chromosomatic genes in order to enhance somebody. So Ariel, the Little Mermaid, one was fat, one was skinny, and then he became buff and she became thin. It was just a flicker of, whatever.
Wow.
There's a
So,
chromosomal gene inside of you that they can enhance or reduce to change anything about you.
so we're that malleable and manipulatable, it sounds like. If somebody knows
Well,
our true
yeah,
nature and we don't, we're basically puppets.
correct. Yes, and that's what we were. That's what I was. I was a puppet and I played the assassin. I was in the MK Delta programming. Those are high level assassins. MK Alpha is basic military. You'll see some of your special forces, like your lower level special forces, but your high level special forces are in the MK Delta programming.
Is that like the Black Widow? It seems like Marvel comic movies have revealed a lot of this
Yes.
stuff. And the Black Widow one was particularly interesting how they created these female assassins, and she was so badass, but she was just like one of many were trained
Yeah.
assassins, and it was the same type of thing. Is it all came from extreme abuse and deprivation and fight or flight, adrenalized brain their entire lives at the sake of like any kind of happiness or joy or yeah, I mean it's pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah. They learned how to isolate people. But
So,
yes, it's like that in like the movie Ava. My story is more like Ava than Black Widow.
okay. When you say you were in the military doing this kind of stuff, is it makes me wonder, is the entire military nothing but these kind of Illuminati branches? is the military completely overrun by these occult forces?
The active duty, yeah. Your National Guard are the old guard for the world's protection. The active duty, they are what's called the occupation, and they're from a galaxy, I think 12 billion light years away. They destroyed their worlds, obviously, like everybody else did, and hopped from galaxy to galaxy to galaxy, trying to take over planets to find their home setting. And but everywhere they go, they destroy it because of minerals and what they can get from the life of it. Definitely darkness.
Sounds like Avatar,
It's exactly like Avatar, yeah.
only a better plot.
Yeah. Well, I bet that's what they do. They harvest everything to death, and but they use the resources and all life. Well, like the whales on Avatar when they were pulling out the adrenochrome. You know,
Yeah, yeah, that
that's
was
they
pretty
do it with.
sad part.
Hmm.
Except here they're not. Well, maybe they are doing it with whales. Well, that actually is something I've never thought about. I know they do that with children in particular,
Yeah.
but does that work with other animals?
Yes.
So you can you
Dogs,
can
cats,
so you
all
can
the
torture
time.
dogs and drink their adrenalized blood and still get the same effect, or is it just more effective within your same species because of the genetic similarities?
No, it's the same. Like, like the Spaniards, they tortured the bull before they killed it.
Oh, is that what it's all about?
Yes, it's a ritual.
I always thought that was just plain
Or
crazy, but I've never put bullfighting in that context before. And I've never really thought about other animals being harvested for adrenochrome until this second, actually. But it's
yeah,
like,
nobody thinks about it.
I mean, like, why not? Why not? Because, we're like, what, 97% identical chemically to a pineapple. So it's like,
Right.
surely all the other mammals of the world are similar enough to us that they kind of have the same hormonal basic structures.
Right.
Uh, wow, that's just crazy
Mm,
stuff.
mind blowing.
Yeah. So I guess you're saying that you've never really escaped this. It's an ongoing struggle of continuing to escape it.
Um, they can't physically hurt me anymore. So they go after everything I care about. Because I learned to fight. And I mean, they send people after me. The last one was sent in 2019. That was another veteran. That was a 37-minute hand-to-hand combat to the death. I lost 3 molars. He punched my face into a concrete about a million times.
Yikes.
But I'm built strong. That probably would have broken anybody's jaw, and that's what his intent was. That's what um
Is that a part of being a super soldier?
he wasn't as strong as me. He was just in the alpha programming. I was in the delta programming. So again, bone wise and structure and fat or thin, you'd never hear a Marine taking on a sumo wrestler.
True.
Very true. So it doesn't matter. I could be in a wheelchair, and if that super soldier needs to come out, I can get up.
Wow.
But in my normal phase of life, I would be stuck to the wheelchair. You know what I mean?
So it's the stress, something is released when you're under duress. Is that
Yes.
that's what activates it?
We have a monster. They call him monster. Um, well, because they were tortured into becoming a monster. And that's why you'll see a lot of soldiers and veterans going to like the Shaolin monk monasteries to find balance. What they're doing is they're trying to come in peace with the monster. So, or a lot of them are homeless. And I've been homeless twice, no, 3 times, twice with my kids. And so I know what it's like when the monster has to come out. There's a movie that was 1990s or early 2000s. It was about a girl who had amnesia, can't remember the name of it, but she had amnesia. She had a husband and a daughter, and all of a sudden she started to get these physical memories back, and she was chopping up like a chef, and she ended up throwing a knife, and then she found out that she was this elite military operative, and but she woke up from the amnesia, right? Well, that's kind of like what we are. But if you go into the military, you know that you're what you're capable of because they let you see a lot of it, but it's only when you're there. You're at your optimal health as long as you're enlisted
Mm.
because the military forts are on the crystalline, uh, I would say regenerative energy, and they allow you to be optimal. Now, when you break yourself, they try to get rid of you as fast as possible so you don't heal. Because then you'll start to be like asking questions. Whoa, why did my leg heal? Why did my rib pop back into place without, the doctors and whatever? That's why most of the time med is off base. Like the bigger med, if you have to do surgery and stuff, it's off base.
So when you're in these military programs, when you're done with your service, whether you're dismissed or your contract is up or whatever, do they then wipe your memory for most of this stuff? Otherwise, it seems like there would be more whistleblowers out there, or do they just have some kind of blackmail system on people who serve in these programs to keep them from speaking
They
about it?
might they wipe your memory as you go.
All right.
There's
And
things they want you to remember and things that they don't. So
so do you initially forget it, or does it just not work on some people? And then does
I
it
think
come
it
back?
depends on your level of consciousness.
Okay. So you're depending on your consciousness, you can overcome the memory wipe. Like like
Yes.
you can never wipe the memory of your whatever you call it, oversoul or the Akashic records or any of that. And you can always access that if you know how to. So it's just your physical
No, your
memory.
physical always has memory because you have muscle memory, you have water memory, you have blood memory. Those you can't wipe, but they can wipe the sight memory. So they
Okay.
disconnect the sight from the rest of the tissue. That's why we build these doors in our mind to hide all that.
Is that what like when you hear about the MK Ultra torture and all that, satanic rituals and all that, the whole point of it is to split the mind into a bunch of different compartmentalized
Yeah.
psyches. And does that just spontaneously heal in some people? Is that how they can access these memories? Or is it something if you work on, you can start retaining those? And is it those very horrible memories that keep people from even wanting to explore that because they don't want to remember it?
Yeah, all the above.
Wow.
There's things that I don't want to remember. I know I did things. Um, yeah, and I don't want to remember it. That's a door I don't want to have to deal with. Eventually we do have to deal with it because that becomes our karma. And then when you keep not trying to deal with it, it seems bigger the older you get because then, well, like some of the people right now, I mean, we all used to run around like chickens with our heads cut off, right? We're busy, we're doing stuff, we got a job. Now a lot of people are staying home making money. So, as I explained to some of the people around me, I was like, look, you've been working your whole life. You've been doing this your whole life. Now you're not. I was like, the thing is and I know, and everybody else knows we're energetic beings. So, what happens to that energy that you were used to pushing out in a certain way, and now you can't? So the body is freaking out, trying to outlet this energy. So, but you're hiding in your home. You're getting depressed because you're literally overloading your own system.
Wow. Uh,
So people who were button pushers who had to think, like my mom was a 911 dispatcher, so but she was also a firefighter. So again, but she learned and she retrained herself to transmute that energy in different ways. So some people struggle with that, especially people who have a trade like mechanics or farmers or just whatever. The people who are nonstop their whole life and then all of a sudden they stop and they're not trained to how to switch the gears. They don't know how to take that energy of physical and turn it into mental. It's all used the same way. You just got to learn to do it. And if nobody was there to show you how to do it, that's when people start losing it. And they have these midlife crises because the energy is like literally bouncing all over the place trying to find an outlet.
Hmm. Makes a lot of sense. Um, what are your thoughts on if we can be programmed and manipulated like little robots and made Manchurian candidates out of, how does that work karmically? Are we only responsible for what we intentionally do, or do we also hold the karma of actions we may have done that we didn't even realize we do because we were controlled through some mechanisms beyond our control?
Well, that goes to the timeline because you have different timelines. Um, and your oversoul, your avatar, your spirit, your whatever, there's multiple consciousness levels. You have different bodies in different places. And sometimes we tap into that from other planets. So nobody's been to one planet. Oh, I'm from this planet. No, you're from multiple planets. Because to get here, you have to have been born more than 40 billion times. So to get here in this body, Earth is like the cradle of existence, but if you come back after your 40 billion whatever lives, it's different. You came back into a God suit, but you got to activate the God suit, right? They're not just going to hand it to you. Um, so on these multiple timelines, you're going to feel all these different stories. So how do you get them on a permanent timeline? You have to experience. You have to be able to connect with not just your oversoul. Universally, we're moving things. You just don't know where it is you're moving it. I think it's the Eternals. The movie's The Eternals, where the one guy is this god and they make planets and blow them up to make more gods,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And they need the human, energy to do it. It's something kind of like that.
Wow. Seems like the Marvel series is nothing but disclosure disguised as science fiction. At
Correct. Yeah.
least all the ones I've seen, they seem pretty convincing. Um, wow. So before I forget, what's up with the three Jesus thing?
Okay, so there's the three Jesuses. There's technically only two. Now, I'm related to Joseph. Unfortunately, and anybody can disagree with me. It's your level of knowledge. I was given access to my actual unbroken blood lineages, and Joseph was not married to Mary. It was actually her uncle, and they were very wealthy. He was a high priest in the temples back in the day before they became churches. And Mary did things inappropriately. She got pregnant, however immaculate or not. Um, Again, gods can drop down here and seduce women all day long. That's why the angels fell, right? I'm just trying to connect the dots for you guys. Anyways,
So God was the
um,
uh the bad example for the angels? Is that what that meant?
no, that's how natural evolution takes place. God has permission to come down here, and even creation herself, as she's known as Eve or Sophia or whatever, they come down here and have affairs with mortal men to create genetic upgrades. Mostly you want a son to be born because a man can, you know, get multiple women pregnant and spread that angelic seed somewhere. So Jesus, they're referred to as Jesus 9 and Jesus 12. Um, and then the other Jesus, he was an apostle. I don't know which one because they don't mention him in the Bible. But he was the sacrifice. He took Jesus nine's place, and as we see today, all these celebrities aren't dying, right? Jesus 9 just recently passed away. That's why we're actually able to become heirs. His offspring have to be able to take his place. And it rotates. It goes from masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. So right now, that's why the energy is shifting into the feminine, is because he passed away just recently. So yes,
Who,
he has lived this whole life.
who was Jesus
Jesus,
9? Did he have a human name or is it just somebody behind the scenes?
Master Melchizedek.
Master who?
Melchizedek.
Melchizedek. Okay.
Yep, they were both considered Melchizedek because they were cousins in flesh, brothers from the celestial. They came from sisters. Jesus 12 came from what was known as the blue Melchizedek bloodline. Jesus 9 came from the red Melchizedek Anunnaki bloodline. Um, I've seen the picture of both of them, the painting of both of them together. So they were, they were close until Mary got involved, and then they weren't close anymore. So Jesus 12 is the one that ascended out, and he took a ship and flew out. He didn't like float in magic. Um, he took his people and they all went to heaven because they did what they had to do to get off the planet.
Hmm.
However, Jesus 9 is reincarnated, and that's why you see all these monks and shamans walking the country. They're trying to find him.
So why is
They
he
just don't want you
Jesus?
to know.
How is he Jesus 9 if there were only supposedly two or three?
Oh, there was 10.
So there were actually 10.
There was 10, and Herod did kill many of them, but those were the two that he didn't get. They worshipped Jesus 9 because he was the Anunnaki god. Now, Jesus 12 they couldn't get to because Jesus 12 was born into the highest kingdom in the world, so he was more heavily protected. It's not like they didn't try to kill him, but they didn't.
So when we're talking about the Jesus as a generic term, is it just these different individuals who were born totally ascended and
Yes.
had all
Well, you're
the
all born totally ascended. That's why they do the foot ritual. They cut your soul. They do that stuff to separate you from your consciousness.
so these were the 12 individuals where that didn't work, or they just weren't able to get to them to do it.
They were babies when they died. That's
Okay.
why they kill the babies.
Okay. So most of them never survived
No,
beyond infancy. So only three
right.
of them are the ones who did.
No, the third one was not a Jesus. He volunteered. That was the actual sacrifice. It was like a cop taking a bullet for a complete stranger. That's a sacrifice.
So
The
he was
un
basically a double on a stage, like a stage,
On the world stage at
what
the
do you call
time,
it?
yeah.
A stunt double.
Yes. Mary, Queen of Scots, had the same thing. The real Mary, Queen of Scots, didn't die. She had a double. That's somebody that was trained to act exactly like her.
It does make me wonder who really does die these days, if or ever. It's like who really died and who's faked their death. And have you ever seen that movie, Seconds? It came out in 1966. It was
Mm-mm.
about a rich guy who hated his life. He was average looking, blah blah blah. And he's just like, screw it, I want to start over. And then he went to this corporation that specializes in just giving you a new life. So they fake your death, they give you a whole new identity, a whole new career, give you a facelift, the whole works.
Right.
And he actually went back and visited his widow, and his widow didn't even know who he was. And it was like, wow, that has to be happening. So like when Michael Jackson died, and it's like all these people, it's like, it makes you wonder, did they just get tired of being public figures and they just wanted anonymity once again and they just kind of started over?
Hmm. Well,
Um,
yep, all the car accidents, the plane crashes, oh, the body wasn't found, and
yeah,
the
exactly.
memorials. Well, and I
Exactly.
think Trump actually just passed a law that states anybody that faked their death can come back without consequences.
Oh, really? What law is that?
I don't know. I just heard about it yesterday, so I
Oh,
was gonna go
wow.
try to find it. Yeah.
So much to keep up with these days.
Yeah, right.
Wow,
It is a bit difficult.
this is such a convoluted web of
Deception.
everything that just kind of it's like it's really hard to like carry on a linear conversation about this stuff because
Right.
you ask a question and then you get sidetracked and then okay, I don't know where I was going now.
Right. Well, but Mary, so Mary, the Virgin, whether she was or not, again, don't know, women can get pregnant. She could have been an immaculate conception. Maybe they did have ways to get women pregnant without a man. But you can't have the seed of God. However, if he was protected by the Anunnaki could have had a whole hand in that, right? Oh, Mary, let's inject you with this DNA. See
There's
what happens.
also in nature, there's something called parthenogenesis.
Uh-huh.
It's where it's never been actually publicly documented in humans, but in sharks and some reptiles and other animals, a female, when mating is impossible, they can just spontaneously clone themselves and just give birth to an genetic identical version of themselves. And
They would more than likely have a male.
then no, in some cases they don't have a male. It's just it's like a cloning process. Like,
Well, right, but normally if a female is without a male, they'll produce a male in order to continue a different blood strand.
oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I mean that's possible in that case too. And of course, there's always laws of nature and spiritual aspects that we don't have any clue about. So, you
right.
know, it's like when all is said and done, anything's freaking possible.
Yes. And that's probably what they call immaculate. Like I said, I mean, some people do the thing in their own kitchen with, a turkey thing. I don't know.
That
But they're
happens
still
too.
virgins, right?
That's true.
Just
That's technically they are virgins. They can.
right.
Um,
So it could be immaculate. It could also be something else. So, but if the Anunnaki had him as the ruler, and he was, I don't know for how long, a little over definitely 2,500 years, because he was born, I think, in year five, not 00. And his birthday is September 15th. Jesus 9 is. I do believe Jesus 12 was born in 2012, or not 2012, I'm sorry, 0012. Mary was born in between both of them. I have all their birth dates. Mary Magdalene was born. And let's see. But Mary, the Virgin Mary, went to live with her uncle Joseph, and he did adopt Jesus 9, because if not, it would have been a royal scandal on the family, because she came from a wealthy family. They weren't poor, they weren't carpenters, they were masters um, of their elements. So, but they wanted everybody to believe that they were carpenters, so that way we would labor and work hard. And but they don't tell you what happened between the age 8 and 33 or 30. It's
is there anything in uh mainstream religions that's true?
all true. There's just two different stories. Both Jesuses are mentioned. We three kings have traveled so far. The kings came to see Jesus 12, and his mom was Judai. So the religion Judeo is after his mother. His mother was a great queen. She was the ruler of the land at the time. Jesus, again, Mary came from another royal family. They're not going to tell you who it is because they want to control that bloodline because that's the king they want, and that's the king they got. You just have to be convinced that he's the one. So you can ascend out. Anybody can leave. If you do the book of life, you get to go. You don't have to stay. All of them did this book. That's why they have uh, the right to rule or leave.
Hmm.
That's why there's a book to begin with. So the next sequence of these master estate packets or books of lives, and they're mentioned in a few of the Bibles that are left, the Mormon and the, oh, I always forget, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they talk about the book of life. So that's how they left. That's how they became who they are. That's how they went from supposed rags to riches. That's why Jesus came to see Mary Magdalene's brother and save him from the dead because he wanted to be in this with the slaves instead of, in his ascended position.
Wow. Um, Back to the secret space program. How long were you? were you in that?
Um, about 180 years.
180 years. How does that work? Do they take you out of your body and put you in another body, or is that splitting time, or are you
No, I
claiming,
was in my physical. We're immortal. Just so you know, we're immortal.
well, you
They can
must,
age regress you.
so so you're 180 years old?
I'm older than that, actually.
How old are you?
About 3,000. I was created in 54 AD.
And
I
you
was
have
brought
memories?
here. I have a vague memory. I was brought by a time walker. We know him as today, people who can go through time, like Dr. What's his name? Who?
Doctor Strange?
Yeah, that guy too. But they're called
Doctor
time
Who?
walkers. Yeah. I was created in the time of the Christ era. So I am from Mary Magdalene. Even though she had many children with Jesus 9, she was locked up in a tower for 480 years. Because back then they lived to be 1,000. So everybody on the planet used her to have an offspring. All the Illuminati, the Templars, the priests, they raped her. That was where she lost her mind because she was stuck in a tower. And, the whole Rapunzel thing is actually where Mary had to put her hair out the window when she was ripe in season to have a child. Because but when you live longer, a woman only can bear a child, I think once or twice a year, not every month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that's how they knew when they were going to be born.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How does that work then if you were if you're that old, is your current condition just like a reset?
No, my cells are that old. Like I said, we're immortal. When we die, it's only a brain death. Your physical body doesn't actually die. Uh, they age regress it, and they can put you. That's why you don't really detect women being pregnant like within the first day. Those are the immaculate conceptions, I think. I did feel my first time being pregnant. It happened within minutes. It was weird and unexplainable. But I believe that they have this breeding program so controlled that they actually implant the woman.
Hmm.
It sounds outrageous, but for the things that I've seen, I was implanted in 2019, and I had to actually go to Colorado to have the implant removed with Area 51's permission.
Is that where you were stationed, Area 51?
No, I've only been there once, and that's when they brought me here to implant me into my physical mother here. They took uterus and all. I wasn't born in 54 AD, I was created. So my fetus itself was between 4 and 5 months old. I don't know how I was transported. I do know I was skipped through time. And they talk about the lost child being skipped through time. I'm considered one of the lost children, but I'm not the only one. I know a guy at the Vatican that was brought from the future to here.
Wow. This is all such nebulous concepts to grasp.
Right. And he was born here, but what they do is they have the technology to take the fetus and the womb and everything, well, the sac, not the womb, the sac. And they can safely transport it, especially if they know like the mother in that time is going to die. So they'll go and extract the fetus from either past or future and bring it here to this time. The future ones were for future technology or knowledge because we're embedded with our DNA. Our DNA is our history, right? So you can only have so many children come at certain times without breaking the space-time continuum or shattering it. So
So,
my cells are from 5480.
wow.
My physical born here, I'm 46. The space programs, I was jumped 5 times. Um, All but one was 20 years, the other one was 100 years.
So I guess a big question that I have, and I know other people have as well, is how do you know that what you're remembering is actually true as opposed to these memories being implanted into you in some way?
Depends on who you are, and how high level your consciousness is. If you can see yourself through the eyes in the memory, you're there in the body. But if you're watching yourself, normally you're a clone watching something. But if you're in a physical appearance, it's normally a clone is experienced, or it's your other timelines that you're experiencing in real time. You're connecting because you have one soul, which is the anchor to the spirit, right? Everything connects back up to the one. So you can literally be jumping timelines in your sleep and not know it. But if you're looking out your eyes and you can't see your face, right? Like you and I right now, we can see our face through the reflection of this camera. But once we click out, I can't see my eyeballs. My nose, I can see the tip of it, right? Or anything like that. But you can't see your face. If you can see your face and your full body, that's an implanted memory. Or it's an implanted version of what they want you to think.
Wow, sounds so it's one of those things you have to learn how to harness
Identify.
harness the power of extreme uh, discernment.
Right.
They've like mastered the art of deception and every kind of subtle manipulation possible. Which brings us to like
Yeah.
the Matrix movies.
Right. And the one that I'm watching now, and I know a lot of people are watching it, I don't know why I can't remember the name of this thing. Has the demigorgons in it.
Is it a new series?
Yeah.
There's so many of them, I can't keep up with it all.
Well, it's not all new. The underground, the parallel, but then they find out it's not, it's a consciousness. Anyways,
Sounds interesting, whatever it is.
right. I don't know why I can't think about it. It's everywhere. Well, because probably I'm not supposed to say it. So there we go. I'll get diverted if I'm not allowed to say something. So, anyways, there are the movies that do show these things. And we are in different universes. But like I said, you are still physically here. Don't let anybody tell you you're just a hologram of yourself. You're not. You are in a physical body. That was the whole joinder between the planet and the consciousness, was to experience a physical reality. But the reality got hijacked through, black hole technology. But that's why everybody's planets were all suffering because they got sucked into black holes, into the void. Eventually, it can repair itself over, time, usually billions or trillions of years, depending on how the size of the planet or the galaxy that got destroyed.
So when people hear this kind of stuff and they're not that familiar with it, they either automatically think, oh God, these people are crazy for talking about this,
Right.
or if they entertain that it could be real, it's like it's very overwhelming, the scope of it. And it makes it sound like the dark forces have pretty much captured everything and that it's insurmountable to escape this. Um,
Not really. It just depends on your level of consciousness and when you're ready. Everybody's got to be ready at a different time. We're not all going to ascend the same day. It's impossible. Some people are new here. You'll hear people talk, "Oh, I'm a new star seed. I'm here to help," right? They're not going to ascend out. They're going to come and help and die because you can't take the body if you're just a helper. You know what I mean? So that's why I tell people, I was like, maybe don't identify as a star seed because I mean your job's done, you're gonna die because you're a temporary body, not a permanent one. So there's really different levels of everything. It really depends on when you're ready. Like, are you ready to be this God that needs to create its own universe, its own consciousness, its own people? Or are you just here to experience? The individual has to figure out their path, and people are going to come in and out of your life to help give you a piece of your puzzle, whether good or bad. You might have to go to jail to figure it out, or you go to the military to figure it out, or you become a doctor and you figure it out, or you don't. Everybody has a soul journey. But if you're in the waking up period, like a lot of us are, you're given tests because you're given a God body. Now, the reason they don't just give you the God body with these ultimate cosmic powers is because a lot of people like control. They don't know how to handle control. So you have to be beaten down so bad so you don't lose control when you're getting into an immortal, indestructible body once you activate it.
Is
It's
that the
not
purpose?
impossible,
Is that the purpose of this reality right here? This 3D
kind of, yes,
construct?
yes. Because if we were all in kumbaya and there's nothing coming after us, and I mean, if life was good, would you make any kind of change? No. Why would anybody fucking do that if life was great? I wouldn't make any changes, but life's great. I'm
Yeah.
married, I got these great kids, we're educated, we're traveling, we're doing all the things.
But at the
You
same
could have
time,
chose that.
if you've reached that ultimate peak of happiness, why would you need to change?
But how would you know?
Well, I don't know, but that's why I'm asking.
So that's why devastation happens. Something happens in your world that breaks the reality that there's something bigger out there.
So apparently we live in an illusion when we think we've reached some kind of nirvana here.
But we created the illusion, I think. I think we created it. I think we signed up to have our memories wiped. And because what happens when you fail at something? It doesn't feel very good, right? It's not
Rarely.
like we're gonna pick ourselves up without injury of any kind of emotion or physical and say, oh, darn, I messed that up. Let's go try again, right? You can't be happy in failure. I find those people crazy. It's okay, I failed. Let's just keep going. You have to have an up and a down, and up and a down, up and a down. You have to feel the emotions. If not, but it's good to fail. You have to fail 1,000 times in order to get it right. So that way you never fail again. So how many lives did we live that we had to fail, but the pain got so much to the soul that it was like, if I fail this time, just wipe my memories. I don't want to carry this pain throughout all these lives. It's making me bitter. It's making me this and that.
So do you still talk to your family?
Sorry, someone was calling in. I have to talk to them in the 3D. They don't understand.
So I would imagine you don't see eye to eye on things because they're probably still in the same,
Asleep. Yeah.
okay.
Well, and their handlers, they're told by the heads. And the only one that knew was my grandma and my grandpa because they were in the secret programs, the societies. Um, my mom's kind of getting it, but not really. So I have to let her see things at her time. Because, yeah, if I do try to say something, I'll do it in a joking way, be like, oh, the aliens are coming, Mom, be careful. And then I laugh to make it lighthearted. So then she's like, oh my God, there you go. you know and then but I tell him, I was like, well, I'm only crazy till I'm not crazy, right? Because I mean, the aliens landed in the 60s. You were alive then, so here we go. There's just ways to say it, and you don't have to like panic around other people. It's hard to panic other people. You learn to calm down. The Shaolin monks know a lot, but they're not running around going, oh my God, the sky's falling, right? They talk in the way that the 3D people may or may not trigger them because not everybody's at the same level.
That is definitely true. And most people are
So,
not at a higher level, as we all noticed.
right. And how I get around everybody is nobody can argue with me because my dad worked in Area 51.
Wow.
So,
So how do you how do you get away with talking about this? Aren't there some kind of legal implications of
there
disclosing?
were, but you gotta learn. if they approach you or you get this feeling, you can literally be in a meeting room with these people, okay? Especially if people that astro project. You don't got to go sneaking around. You just have to learn to hey, I want to have this meeting. I want to talk about this. Or they want you to talk about it. They usually come to me. They invade my spiritual space. But I've turned them down a lot, like way before 2019. And then I had a brain aneurysm and all this memory was dumped in my head. And I had a lot of questions. And then they wanted me to talk about it. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to talk about it because I have kids and they need a mom. And I made a promise, so I'm not going to break it. So I'm going to be here till these kids become adults. So if you want me to do this, here is my requirements. I am safe from the three-letter agencies and cannot be harmed. But I will only talk about the stuff that you can find. I won't talk about the stuff that's not public yet.
So there's obviously a whole bunch more that you know that you're not able to talk about at this time.
Mhm. Yes.
When do you anticipate the time coming that the floodgates open and we all get to access this information like freely and without fear?
Well, it has to be within the next 51 years because we all have to be off the planet by then. So the ones that really are not going to ascend, I like at all because genetically they're just not equipped to do it. They will die. I don't even know if the COVID shot is real. I think it's just targeting the people that aren't going to ascend. Because, I mean, think about it. In the Bible, it says the plague, and magically the blood ran into the water and everybody was cured. What does it really mean? We're in another plague.
So when you say 51 years before something, what is that something? Is the earth destined to be annihilated at that point, or will it just be uninhabitable?
Oh, it'll be uninhabitable. Yeah. And it tells you in the Bible it'll turn into a lake of fire. She's going to turn into molten lava because she's been harvested so much. She used to be a mega Earth, like huge, like brilliant, probably bigger than Saturn.
So it'll be a cleansing, so to speak, another
Oh,
extinction
yep.
extinction level event that we're on the verge of.
Right.
And
Yeah, because she's
as
the host. We're just the people here experiencing the life. But if she wants to grow up, it's her choice. But she can't do it naturally because the all the invader races that are here have harvested her natural
yeah,
being. Imagine yourself not being strong. You know how we look at our elders and we know in these pictures they used to be these strong, really, just independent people, and now they're skin and bones, can barely walk, can barely move. Well, that's where she's at. So, in order
wow.
for her to grow up, she has to go through what's called a purification of the planet. It's like she's being reborn herself, but she has to go back to the original form, which is molten lava. Because new planets are born with lava. So, just like an island, it bubbles up into the universe until it reaches the size it wants. So the Illuminati thought they had 100 years, but they don't. They had less than that, according to the heavens. And because again, it just depends on what the Earth wants to do. Nobody cares about life on this planet because without the planet, there is no life. So how do you take care of the host?
So what is the ascension process then? Is it the talk that our DNA will crystallize into a crystalline matrix instead of a carbon-based one, something like that?
I
Or
don't even think we were actually carbon based to begin with. I think that's what they told us to keep us at a lower level.
so is the ascension basically a self-discovery thing then that we
Yes.
are what something else and when we awaken to that we realize we have the power to leave here.
Well, you have to do it in the form of contract of consciousness. So there is a law that I give me a second. I'm gonna reach for the book. I'm gonna tell you what that celestial law is. Um, because I'm in my car. Okay. So I have a disclosure because I found out what the celestial law was. It is, it says this workbook is issued and protected under the authority of the Adona of Soul Celestial Disclosure Division and enforced through uniform commercial codes, and it lists all the codes. The Lanham Act, because I'm trademarked, international law, UN Charter articles, education and cultural sovereignty, WIPO status, and applicable provisions of the Hague Convention, the Treaty of Universal Peace held in trust and treasury, the Interstellar Accord 0091X, Core Consciousness Star Treaty. That is an actual thing. You guys aren't going to find it. Um, it took me this 2025 to come across it. I had to do a lot of things to get there. But that's when you get to protect your consciousness. But you have to be in sync with that in order to leave. So again, in the Bible, I'm not trying to convert people into Christianity. It's definitely not a thing. Because I know who rules the planet. But yeah, we're all going to shake the devil's hand as we leave because he's not really a devil, but he is. He's an angel. It tells you who rules over the world. And he wanted to be worshipped in both good and evil. Because normally there'd be two gods. There would be an evil god and there would be a good god. Well, with the good and the bad god are the same dude. So that's how he designed this matrix. And there is a key. I was just given the key to the matrix. Definitely learning it slowly because I feel like that's a very powerful sigil that can be abused very quickly. Um, but yeah,
So,
everybody has to be in your consciousness. You have to find out who you are and where you belong.
so the ascension process is basically about escaping the duality.
No, you're not escaping. You're gonna walk out the front door.
Okay, not escaping, leaving
Not escaping.
voluntarily with dignity.
With dignity,
How's
pride, your
that?
inheritance, your memories, all of it.
Okay, basically just remembering who you are.
Right, without the fight. You gotta not want to kill these people because we don't know what the contracts were before. Like I said, before I was all about the fight. I'm a fighter. That's all I did my whole life is to exist and fight. And that is exactly what Lucifer likes. He loves the fight, right? So when you stop fighting, now they have to think because you're unpredictable at this point. What do they know? What is she carrying? Who's talking to her? What celestial being is interfering and blah 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 blah. So, and I say it outright. I don't talk to God, but I talk to the Creator God Council and the Prime Fates of Nova. So those are my guides. They can be annoying, just like everybody else. Sometimes more than others because they don't have time. They don't know it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'll be shaken awake and I gotta look at something. And it's like, why did you realize that this is when we sleep? Because they don't sleep, right? They're celestial beings.
So you're saying there's spiritual drama as well as physical
There
drama.
is so much spiritual drama, yes. And when you do the book of life, it's the worst spiritual drama. It gives you so much anxiety because you're breaking free. So all your handlers are like grasping at you, trying to, no, no, don't leave, don't leave. What can we feed you that will, the lotus cookies or whatever, like in the Percy Jackson movies. Here, have a lotus flower, have a lotus flower, have a lotus flower. Forget, 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 and you're like, I don't want the damn lotus flower. I want to get the heck out of this matrix, right? I just want to find the exit door.
I've always looked at it as just like we live in a parasitic system where ascension
Again,
is
it
kind
could be.
ascension is kind of like a dog taking a flea bath. So all the ticks and fleas just go away.
Right,
And,
but they go away for a time, right? But then they come back. The dog
but
still has to go outside.
you have to maintain your spiritual hygienes, so to speak.
Right.
So um
But we did it to ourselves. I believe now that I know where I'm at the level that I'm at, I believe that we at some point said, erase my memories so I can't feel the pain of the trauma before.
Good point.
Because they cannot come against your free will. So why would they come against your free will consciousness?
So that would mean that when you fully want to activate and have all your memories, that you have to be able to process all the negative that
You
has
have to come to
occurred
peace with
to you
everything.
and then
Yeah,
transcend it so that you don't become a victim to it.
right. It's
So
not just clearing out your physical debt here, it's also clearing out your spiritual karmic debt.
I would say it's mostly spiritual and emotional, and
Yes.
physical's like this is just like little locust shell that we're inhabiting at the moment.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
I like the some people don't like the term, but they call it the meat suit.
Well, that's what it is until you activate it into the God suit. And it's in you. You're given the most benevolent form in the universe. You just have to activate it.
So in that regard, we kind of are the whole analogy to caterpillars and pupae and then the butterfly is kind of just like this a spiritual metaphor. Only
Kind of, yeah.
that's showing us the process in a physical form that we call an insect. In this case, a butterfly or a moth.
Kind of. Yeah, but it's again, it's more consciousness. Don't try to kill your vessel so your soul comes out of it. That's a Lucifer thing. He wants to keep your soul.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're not gonna cocoon out of your flesh.
So is this something that I see you do events. Um, you're a speaker?
Yes. Yeah. I was gonna do a tour, but after James Rink passed away, I realized that a lot of us are being targeted. So I'm gonna keep my tours closed. But that the good news is I can just charge like $50 instead of, a couple $100 to be able to pay for the venue. And my books and my merchandise will be there, and I can talk about things that I'm not allowed to talk about online. And I can show you guys things that I can't. There's rules with this. Like what you do with it is again your free will. I can tell you what I can talk to you about there, but if you take it out without permission, and I would like to teach people how you can get permission. It's not very difficult, but I can't tell you like on here because they'll take your video down,
So you
and
do
then they'll start targeting you.
so you do tours on your own, or do you do tours as a part of a speaker setting like New Living Expo or something?
No, I do it on my own because my information is what you guys need to get off the hamster wheel of information. That's what I was asked to do, is you guys get stuck in a loop saying the same thing in a different way. And you have to have, I'm not the only one. There's other people out there that can do this too. We just go out and we glitch the information. Like, oh, okay, well, this is what we were talking about here, but did you know this also happened during this time? Like everybody's stuck on the Montauk. Okay, well, Montauk is a program within the program that was 18 million years ago called Frankenstein's Labs. I was part of Frankenstein's Labs. So what does Frankenstein's Labs entail? And when did Montauk come out? Oh, in the 60s or the 70s or 20s? Montauk's not the only mind control project.
Yeah, it's the one that's definitely been talked about the most, just because some of the Montauk guys have been the most vocal about some of this disclosure stuff. It's still
Right.
out there, repeating the same
And
stories.
repeating the same stories in a different way.
But then
But what
again, a
about
lot of
those
people,
other guys?
but then again, a lot of people don't know about even the first little shred of anything about any of this. So I guess in that regard, it is good for uh, a recruiting method to get people to start thinking about this stuff because it seems to be an inexhaustible wellspring of hidden activity out there. In fact, it seems like what we actually can see is like the tip of the iceberg to actually what exists.
Right.
Like,
Well, I know that I mentioned a few in here. This is the military one. I know there's a few programs like the Knights and Orders. There was the House of Plantagenet, England, France. Capetian dynasty, the Hohenstaufen dynasty, de Montforts, de Bohans. These are all different programs in different countries before it came here. So, and then you had the Order of the Templars, the Teutonic Knights, the Hospitallers. I mean, there's all these things. Like, I put some of them out here so you guys could, research these
and
and
that's
just break from,
in your book.
yeah, I'll take this off.
And and all right, so ancient military minds over the ages, volume 3. Wow. How many books do you have?
I have a lot. I was able, like I said, I got permission to finally get some of this stuff out of my head, but it's hard to talk about because it I don't want to put memories in somebody's head. So I wrote it. I work. These are small. I wrote them like workbooks. There's all my disclosures and stuff. But it's in a workbook. You can write in it because when you read it, it's written to deprogram you because all the deprogrammers, there's only a few deprogrammers left because the left and the right were killing each other. The black ops were trying to kill the white ops from trying to wake us up, and there was just bloodshed back and forth. So the programmers, most of them were killed, and then they realized that these programmers had their own secret codes and triggering you to activate and then deactivate you. So a lot of these murderers running around were activated, but they killed the programmer, so they couldn't deactivate them. So then they had to send special forces out to kill the people who were constantly active. Yeah, it was a mess. And that was the whole serial killer thing. Well, we got to study the serial killer part because he's not, how do we close this guy down? You can't. You killed the handler who had the secret word.
So people like the Zodiac Killer and Charles Manson
Right.
and all that, they were all victims of
Of MK Ultra.
uh, Ted Kaczynski, all these people who
Yep.
were highly intelligent but a little psychotic, to say the least.
Their monster got turned on and the handler died or something and couldn't turn them off because
Wow.
it's a specific word. And it also goes by what country. Like right now, most of the younger generation is MK Ultra by China. So their words would be in Chinese. Mine's Norwegian.
What do
I
you
don't know
think?
any Norwegian.
What do you think of China now? It's like with the CCP, and I mean, it seems like
Oh,
they're
it's bigger than the CCP. They have a whole world takeover. I was part of the first wave of going into the future at Terra 3 because that's what the Earth will be called when she ascends. It'll be called Terra 3. Right now it's called Sol 3. I know everybody wants to call it Gaia, but it's not Gaia. Gaia is its own galaxy, 51,000 light years away. We have refugees from Gaia because Gaia had a black hole because they were messing with their technology too. So there are Gaia beings here. So I'm saying a lot of people don't belong here.
so how does that work if you say the Earth is ascending and then it's supposed to be destroyed in 51 years or whatever? Is
No,
it
no, no,
is it
it's not destroying, it's growing. So, but she can't grow with life on it because she doesn't have the resources to do so.
so is there going to be like an ethereal Earth that splits off that we live on in a higher
No,
frequency or something like that? Or
nope. What happens is when you learn about the void, okay, you learn now the jinn are stuck in the void.
the what is
It's also the jinn
Jin,
genies.
the Jin.
Yes.
Okay.
They were phenomenal cosmic beings. Unfortunately, they tried to take over the creators, the original creators, the metaverse. And they almost did because they were given all the gifts without learning how to use them appropriately. And if you kill, it's kind of like the vampire thing. If you kill the original vampire, the whole bloodline dies. So if you try to kill the original creator, what happens? We all die.
Well,
So they're
interesting.
stuck in the void, also known as eternity. There's a lot of different levels of eternities, but they live in a shadow realm. Before the whole nonsense of Egypt, the jinn didn't even know they were dead. Okay, they lived their spiritual existence in a void, but without a flesh body. But their soul kept the imprint of the flesh body, and it didn't know it was dead. It was living this false life in a shadow realm, and that's where we fell. We're really part of the Milky Way, but a big chunk of the Milky Way fell because of the fallen angels, and now we're in shadow. The movies tell you about shadow, especially Lord of the Rings, how we fell into shadow. Um, and then there was monsters, whatever, but they weren't really monsters. All the movies show you the good guys in the movies are really the bad guys. So the earth will do anything it can to defend itself. So yes, we were once beautiful beings. The mermaids, for example, I know you've seen those. You know how they're all ugly now and they look like fish with sharp teeth and they eat people, right? Well, before they had to defend this world, they were beautiful beings. But what happens to a beautiful animal when you start beating it and destroying it and you turn it into a dog fight or something like that? It turns raggedy. It's all torn up. It's scarred up. Not beautiful anymore. It's destroyed. So
Wow.
everybody that was labeled as a witch was turned into something ugly because they had to defend themselves. And the heroes were really the bad guys.
Wow. It's the ultimate mind bleep.
Right. Well, it's a duality. We live in a duality. If they say they're the good guys, they don't realize, or they do realize they're the bad guys. That's why they say, "Well, I'm here to help." Okay, well, I don't need your help. I can do this on my own. I mean, everybody's programmed. I was programmed. The words came out like a script, and it boggled my mind. Like, whoa, did I just say that? Like, where did that come from?
So you were saying before that all these secret space programs are basically now Space Force?
Yes, yeah. I
That
mean,
was,
what everybody's asking the big question: what does Space Force do? I
yeah,
mean,
it is a good question. And
they're just sitting there taking tax dollars, not doing anything
it's basically just bringing the black budget projects
to the
into
surface.
the surface. So
Hmm.
now they're, I don't know what you would call them now, but
But honestly, do you think 9 billion or 10 billion people on the planet, if the newscast came around and said, hey, in 50 years, we have to be off this planet, do you think the planet's going to take that very well? No.
I would imagine most of them won't even believe it. They'll just think that's all a bunch of woo-woo.
Right. But it'll still create a panic.
Well, I don't know. What can you do about it? How
You
do
have
you,
to let people see what they need to see, and those that can't see that's natural selection. But
have,
only 5 to 10% of that population will pass away. It was the elites had it to where it was going to be 500 million, and then the guide stones, where it was written in stone, was crushed because then they were going to take it to 50,000 people, and you can't do that. The Earth needs at least 83,000 people for the energies to go between life and Earth. and celestial. We're the beacons. We walk around. We are the beacons to the planet. The animals are, we are. That's why nothing sits still. If the energy is not moving, it's what? It's dormant, it's falling apart, it's a negative frequency. That's why they say movement is life.
So if you're saying that the Earth won't be able to support life in 50 years, then is there even any point of trying to make the Earth a better place? I mean, that's some people will interpret that as, well, there's no point, so we might as well just exploit it for everything it's worth because it's not going to last anyway.
Well, that's your consciousness. So you have to be able to figure out how you're going to do that. Like, do you not see yourself here in 50 years
Does
when
that
you know consciously you're an immortal being?
does that mean, so I can't wrap my head around this. Does that mean that people will be able to live here after the whatever they call the apocalypse or end times, that will just have ascended to the point where we can survive that?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah,
basically
because
what
we'll
you're
have the
saying?
ships. Yeah, we'll have the ships that will hover outside of the planet. I mean, we have them now, but they have to be able to sustain a certain amount of life.
So it'll kind of be like
Um,
Battlestar Galactica or something, where we're all in like these ships and we kind of wait out this period. Is
well,
that
Dr. Sala talks about the specific ships. They are called the arcs, but they're not boats. They're not wooden boats.
okay?
They're actual ships.
So it's
I
a Noah's
actually,
Ark scenario, space wise.
yes.
Okay.
Well, and this resets happened before. This is why they call them the Cedars. So the refugees that came millions of years ago don't belong here. We're all interbred, right? We all bred with each other because we lived together. The wars were because we're a sanctuary planet. So all these planets with the Star Wars, they came here. All the different beings eventually came to Earth. When it says all roads lead to Rome, it's really all rivers lead to Earth. Because what do we teach children? When you get lost, either stay where you're at or try to find your way back home. So, what happened when all those Star Wars were going on? In their internal being, from trillions of years of evolution in their other worlds, they didn't know consciously they had to get to this planet. They were just flying. They were like, we don't know where we're going, but there's this planet that seems like it can sustain life. It's a multidimensional planet. We have underground where the level of oxygen might be thinner or thicker or whatever. So the reptilians can live there. The beings can live on the surface crust. The ones that fly are in literally on the floating isles. There's different levels of oxygen on this planet. This is a multidimensional planet. So we can hold all different types of species because we're the cradle of existence. Everything started here. It went through its journey, and then when it got to the technology part, it left. Those that couldn't leave either evolutionized or de-evolutionized.
Is part of the ascension that the veil is just dropping so that our limitations of perception are broadened so that we do see that there's all these other entities existing
Yes and
right
no.
next to us?
Yes and no, but we're toxic. We allowed the subconscious to become plagued. After Atlantis fell, do you know what CERN really is?
From what I understand, it's to open up portals.
Kind of, but CERN, remember the movie Atlantis, the Disney one, and it had the crystal in the sky?
I kind of uh, avoid some newer Disney films because they're kind of cheesy, but
No, that was an older one, Atlantis.
Atlantis,
It was when we were kids.
well, I don't remember it at the moment, but I
Well, there
probably have
was a
seen.
crystal that was up in the sky, and it was the world's power. Now there's a crystal inside the planet in Middle Earth. And again, these are beacons, right? So every planet has these crystals. They're called the crystals of life, creation, whatever. Here, they create life. So when the Monday or archons, demons, whatever you want to call them, non-magical beings were granted access to, what is it? Something nine, the Ark of the Covenant.
Hmm.
They were given access over all the other beings or creatures. Now, non-magical people should never rule over magical people because they live in fear of their magic, their abilities. So that's where we went wrong. This was post the fall of Atlantis. So in their panic, they pulled all the records from all the beings that lived on this planet. And out of fear, they needed to bind all of the people from being able to use any of their abilities to stop them from being neutral to the earth and everything else and the animals because out of their own fear of not being magical beings. And you kind of see that with the movie The Witcher, or the series. And then there's that one movie, The Last Witch Hunter,
Harry Potter
um,
series.
the Harry Potter series. Yep. The Munday are karmic debt bodies. So if you were a magical being back in the day and you killed somebody that was innocent, and then you die in that life, you actually come back without powers because you have to learn a lesson. Karmic debt goes with you. That's why in the movies, all these, elves and wizards, oh, the magic is leaving the world. Well, no, it's not. It's leaving us because we abused it. We got into wars that didn't have anything to do with us. Because of the non-magical beings, they figured out how to make everybody bound to a karmic contract. So they couldn't be magical. That's why it's locked in your DNA and you got to unlock it. You have to settle your karmic debt.
And that seems to be how, if you just get to the mundane human aspects of like the legal system, that seems to be how it's actually all constructed, is it's like there are doorways there. You just have to know how to contractually break these roadblocks to get to
Right.
them. And it seems
Right.
like
So,
the whole that process is basically just repeated and echoed throughout the layers of consciousness and spirituality and the onion layers that separate us from all these different realms. And we're basically
right.
break have to break those contracts that are binding us. So, and the contracts are kind of the key or whatever.
Yeah. So that's how you get out of this contract the contracts are now physical. Like the Little Mermaid, the witch could like conjure up the celestial golden contract that's unbreakable, right? Well, now you got to write it and you got to write it in gold. It's the same contracts, just in a different way. They evolutionize the contracts based on our abilities. And right now, we're all a bunch of demons. Everybody's a demon because you're not magical. You might have consciousness, you might be able to float out of your body, but you're not magic. You can't transfer energy from the earth to a shoe or a car. If your car should be able to drive on its own just with you touching it. That's magic. And it's actually not even magic, it's alchemy. It's
Well,
you alchemizing your energy to the energy of what it is that you're trying to
or you
do.
wouldn't even need a car in the first place. You could just
Correct. You could
you could just like
fly.
bewitched, just snap your fingers and just go wherever you want.
Load on. Yeah, there's different things, different ways to travel, and they show it with all the upgraded people. Now, those upgraded people who are supposedly like the mutants, that they were mutated with some type of genetic disorder. They're either naturally born and their genes were broken in vitro or healed in vitro, but they have to break them and couldn't break them because those guys are the cycle breakers, right? Like we're cycle breakers, we're talking about it. So, but if they can't control the cycle breakers, they will try to kill the cycle breakers. So
Yeah,
you have to outsmart the machine.
that's the way human nature seems to work. Is if I can't have it, if I'm
Nobody
not
else
win,
can have it.
if I'm not gonna win at the chess game, I'm just gonna have a fit and knock it on the floor so nobody wins.
Right.
Seems to be what's going on now
Yes.
as the dark side becomes cornered. It's like they're having a hissy fit and just like trying to
But
bring it
again,
all
are
down in
they
flames.
really dark? Or are they just doing a job and it seems dark to us? Now, you don't really know me from Adam, so what if I came to your house and said, "Oh, I'm gonna live here"? You get pretty mad, right? And
I
I
just
tell
say,
you,
what you
look, Mike,
talking
you
about?
gotta, yeah, you gotta get the heck out. I like your house. So, and you're gonna be like, that's not how that works. And I'm gonna be like, well, sure it does, right? Because I'm gonna mind manipulate you right out of your house because I need you to do something. What if you're missing God's cues?
Well, people do that, just not that abruptly. They're just like they weasel their way into your life so that you accept them into your house. You know,
Right.
that's more the way people work. But that way,
Very true.
because you have to have that consent.
Right. Because of
Otherwise,
free will.
it doesn't work, and that's the charm of the powers that were or soon to be were is they've seduced us into accepting their terms, and they just seduced us into a state of slumber, I guess, where
Again, was it seduction or did we just not want to feel the pain anymore? And at that point, we couldn't fight because we were so broken.
well, it's kind of they took advantage of our situation, let's put it that way.
Or we just wanted something better.
And but we chose the wrong better because it not I mean, I don't know what is better.
Right. What does your ascension look like?
Because when you look at history and how it's transpired, it's like, everything that's happened in the last 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years, it's not all bad. I mean, we have improved a lot. Things are much better now than it was 1,000 years ago, despite
Right.
all the horrible stuff that we hear about. It's like the horrible stuff has always been there. It's just now we know more because we have
About it,
access
yeah.
to the information. So it is all perspective. And if we live in a duality, there's always going to be a negative. So, and a lot of us have been choosing to focus on the negative rather than the positive, which which I'm guilty of myself. It's like, oh my God, the
Yeah.
world's doomed. But then you're kind of just not looking over here going, but it's not. It's just that I chose to be in the doom pastures today.
Right. I had to see something, so I just kept walking. The
I
curiosity
had to
got me.
feel important, so I'm gonna pretend I'm making a difference. Yeah.
Right.
We all kind of go through that. Well, not all of us, but some of us do. Um, well, hey, we're getting down to we're way past an hour. I'm sorry if you had a
No, it's
time
okay.
deadline, but I should respect your time and let you carry on with your day. But and obviously we could go on forever about everything
Right.
because that's where this kind of stuff takes you is like everywhere in every direction and often at the same time. So it's kind of hard to gain an equilibrium when you're trying to wrap your head around the stuff, even if you've been studying similar concepts for a long time.
Right.
But anyway, so where can you most easily be reached? Your website, or do you even want to be reached?
Oh, yeah, I have a website. It's called adonafsoul.us,
Okay, and I have that
and
here, and
it
I
has
will
an email. Yeah.
link it below when I put this up. It's a very cool website, very visually stimulating. It has all your latest appearances, your recent posts, and looks like you have your a store on there, so people can find what you have to offer pretty easily. And do you have any upcoming tours or
I was gonna do one in Vegas on February 6th, but I think I'm just gonna move it over here. Again, back over here. So I gotta update that information. Again, I have kids, so I have to, they're not adults yet, and so I have to make sure they stay safe. And with all the attacks on the SSPs, I don't feel like I'm attacked, but I'm doing things in the world that could trigger some last minute, down with the ship kind of behaviors from the elites. So,
It definitely, in your situation, it would seem to me like you're always navigating a minefield. It's like
yes.
one false step and boom, and you could,
Yeah, it'll all be gone.
yeah. So it's totally understandable, especially when you're responsible for other younger, innocent
People,
people
yeah.
in this world. In fact, I would be tempted to not talk about it at all until they were out of the house, but I don't know. Everybody makes their own decisions about different things. You obviously can assess the risk because you know much more about this than most
And they
people.
have a big part from what I'm doing later. I'm just here to break the curse. I'm not here to usher everybody in. They are.
Right.
Everybody has a path. My kids know their path because I didn't hide it from them. I didn't say, oh, I did tell them, I was like, look, we don't talk to people like that, because not everybody is awake. Our
So your
realities are not the 3D reality.
so your goal is to just teach the horse that there's water to be drink if the horse
Right?
so chooses to go drink it
When they're ready, yeah. I
when
mean, we
they're
can't
ready,
force,
when they're
yeah,
thirsty
we can't
enough.
force anything to drink, They might be dehydrated, but there could be some kind of underlying thing that's causing that dehydration that's preventing them from drinking. There's a lot of, like I said, when everybody's ready, and we're all ready at different times. You can't force it. And that's why I'm always like, I'm only crazy until I'm not crazy, and when I'm not crazy is when you wake up.
But it does sound like there's a time limit here. Like we don't have all the time in the world to just dilly-dally. It's like there is this is a pressing moment in history where we got to get our crap together or
Eventually, yeah.
it's not going to result in a good outcome.
Right.
At least I
Again, not everybody's going to ascend. Some people are going to pass away, but that was what they came down here for. And I'm
and
not saying people should fear death, but
and
it's
nobody
just
really passes away as we know. They just
right.
their soul just goes somewhere else.
Yeah,
It and does goes wherever it needs to.
right,
So so really I guess in some ways it's like it's all just like supposed to happen.
right. People are afraid of the death because they don't want to get stuck in the soul boxes because
There,
that's
you
not
know, there's a
freedom.
lot of fear factor about that these days too. All these videos about the soul trap and
Yeah,
when you die, you have to go through this labyrinthine interrogation committee, and that'll trick you into doing the wrong thing, and then you'll be stuck there for eternity and all this. Like,
right.
oh
Well,
my
you come
God.
back. The
It's like I'd be
duality.
scared to die too if I took a lot of that seriously. But
Right, right. Yeah, it's all there.
so, well, I can't thank you enough for your time you spent here today.
Well,
Uh,
thanks for having me.
very fascinating stuff. As always with this kind of stuff, I barely feel like we scratched the surface, but I
Yeah.
guess we really didn't. It's like you could just go on into infinity. But so thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. A happy 2026, and
You
hope
too.
love to. I'll definitely be exploring more of what you have to offer.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for tuning in to High Vibe TV. Bye.
Bye.